Sit at the table, please. Well, I want to thank all of you for coming to the Chamber President's Roundtable. I'm Bob Linscheid, President and CEO of the San Francisco Chamber, and this whole idea happened about a year ago when Teresa Edvinger over here, there's Teresa, everybody knows Teresa, I think, came up with an idea and said, you know what, we ought to put you in front of the members every month and have a roundtable discussion about issues that are important to San Francisco. And I said, you know, that's a great idea. And then about 3 months ago, Brian Finnegan of BPM, who's sitting right over here, our host, said, you know what, we ought to take that roundtable on the road, and we'll be the first to host it in our brand new facilities at 600 California, Suite 600. I don't know, is that lucky to have pure luck. 600, but I can't thank BPM enough, Burt Pilger and Mayer, accounting firm. It's up to them to, when the Giants win, of course, they're big sponsors. But I want to thank Brian and his partners for supporting us tonight. They said all the beer has to be consumed before you can leave. Not really. But Brian, would you like to say a couple of words to our guests?
Sure, yeah. The first thing, just to echo what Bob said, thanks for coming out. We appreciate it. I've never been to one of these, so I thought the best way to go to one was to host it. I understand Bob typically serves saltines and water. So I said, I think we can beat that. So we've been in this brand new space for about 6 weeks. As Bob said, we're an accounting and consulting firm with offices throughout the Bay Area. About 400 people. 130 of them are housed here in our headquarters. We're thrilled with our new space. We're thrilled to be coming up on 30 years of service in the Bay Area, and look forward to hearing Bob and just welcome you guys here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I mentioned to you that Brian's on our board of directors, and so is Eric Stecker here at Turnpike Media. We have a couple of board members in waiting in the audience, but I don't want to jinx them by mentioning that. But we're going to show a video shortly, but the first thing we're going to do is we're going to let everybody know who's in the room, right? That's the important part. And we're going to start right here, go around the table and into the bleachers, and have you introduce. Here's what we want to do, because if it gets any longer than this, it's going to be a $20 fine. Your name,
address,
company.
No.
Okay.
I'm Greg Ash. I'm with Ideal Restoration.
Great.
Jennifer S. Chan with White Tiger Real Estate Development Team.
Virginia Paris, City College of San Francisco.
Art Tyler, City College of San Francisco.
Reed Eisenhower, Omni Online Solutions.
Stephen Hawkeiser, Cengage Learning.
Brian Finnegan, BPM.
Melissa Galliani, KNBR and KGO Radio.
John Kiefer with Cumulus Media, KGO, and KSFO.
Marty Schmagen with Professional Career Placements and Innovative Strategic Solutions.
Cindy Fassler with Professional Career Placements.
Andrew Bondar with Bondar Associates Financial Services.
Eric Steckel, Turnpike Digital.
Morgan Empey with Navisite.
And Thương Bui from Vietnam Church office in San Francisco.
Aline, I have several, but one of them is French American TV.
Candace Morton with Insperity.
Kirk Harding with Bay Computing.
Nini Farsani with City National Bank.
And I'm Chris Rivers with the University of San Francisco.
Catherine Whipple with PRG Payroll Resource Group.
Welcome.
David McGinn with Turnpike Digital.
Robert Moon, City and County of San Francisco Jobs Now program.
Bill Crawford, Copy Central.
Ananda LaVerge with Scottwork Negotiation and Consulting.
Sue Ellen Spade with INTL Global Payments.
Grant Morris, Payroll Resource Group.
Wade Pitts with Fort Point Capital.
And Anthony Bishop with the Ray Morgan Company.
Carolyn?
Caroline McEwen with the Chamber.
Miss Bedlow with Bedlow International PR. And I'm Teresa, and I work with the Chamber.
Well, Teresa, thank you. I'm going to have you come this direction to get this video started, but before we do, I want to acknowledge a couple of people. You know, education, particularly higher education, is so important to all of you because it helps produce the talent that we so richly need to grow an economy. And we've had some challenges in San Francisco, something that you may have heard about. But we have Chancellor Tyler with us, and also Virginia, the president of City College. And I just want to acknowledge them and the hard work that they've done to make this thing work. We're committed deeply as a business community to make City College, which is a member of the Chamber, a vibrant, thriving producer of talent for San Francisco. And I want to just thank you both for being here today. So about a year ago, I've been on the job 18 months. It doesn't seem any more than 3 or 4 years, but but I can tell you that coming to San Francisco at a time when the economy was just turning around, couldn't have been better timing, right? It's not that I'm so good; it's that the economy turned around in spite of me, I guess. But one of the things that was important to us, or important to me, is to find out what people thought about the Chamber, what we could become, because in reality, our role is to help foster a climate in which business can operate profitably. Because by operating profitably, we hire more people, we give to philanthropy, we make sure that the parks are taken care of, and so that economy cycle very much works. But in order to do that, we had to know who we were and what we wanted to become. And so we embarked on a branding campaign to change, every logo in the world on the Chamber had the bridge in it, right? And the bridge represented something, but it didn't represent all of San Francisco. And so the new logo that we have in front of you, Primo Angeli, our designer, says we want people to look at it and see where they fit in. And that was the start of the process of changing the brand of who we were. Our city, your business is our moniker. So we have a video we'd like to show you that I think depicts a little bit about who we are, about our brand attributes, our compass that guides us, and our process now to live the brand.
The Chamber represents all businesses.
Every size.
Every industry.
Every neighborhood.
Across the city.
And the region.
We are energized.
And we work together.
For your business.
And for our city.
We are proud to be San Franciscans.
And we want to help make it even better. We think.
And act.
For ourselves.
And we do what's right.
For business in our city.
We are champions for business.
We are partners in prosperity.
For the last 160 years.
And for many more.
The Chamber is San Francisco.
Okay, that's who we are, and frankly, as who could have a better job than me representing you and your business in this city? I have to tell you, there are lots of exciting times, particularly at City Hall. The great thing about August, it's the time when the Board of Supervisors is on recess, and and so no harm can be done. But the fact of the matter is that we have to continually look for ways to improve business because the economy won't always be as robust as it is today. A lot of us remember when the dot-com bust took place and what happened wasn't pretty, but San Francisco still was able to be above the fray. And a lot of it has to do with people like yourselves in business today that did whatever it took to stay thriving. So our moniker of independence and inclusive and vibrant all have that in mind because that's what we are and what we want to become. What's important to us when we do these roundtables is give you the opportunity to talk. This is not just about me presenting ideas to you, it's about you presenting ideas to us. We have 3 pillars that are within our organization. The first and foremost is advocacy. You saw very clearly City Hall in the foreground. Whether it's local policies, state policies, or federal policies, primarily in areas of immigration, for example. You know, our chamber views that as a very key pillar of what we're all about, so the area of advocacy. The second is economic development. You'd be interested to know that we're one of the few metropolitan chambers in the entire country where the Chamber of Commerce and the Economic Development Organization is one. When it's in LA, it's the LA EDC and the LA Chamber, 2 separate organizations. And Seattle has the same thing, and Portland and other communities, even Oakland, San Diego, all have separate organizations. Ours is one. And so economic development, which is the creation and retention of jobs, the recruitment or attracting, the retaining, and expanding of companies is a strategy that we have. And what's particularly unique about our economic development programs is we run the Global SF initiative. So initiatives between us and China, us in Southeast Asia, us in Latin America, all happens within the structure of the chamber. And third, and probably the most important, because our businesses tell us, how many companies don't want to have more customers? Anybody? You don't want to have any more?
Yeah.
No, we want to have lots more, right? Well, that's the business development function of the chamber, and our role is to try to do those things that help you grow your business. So whether it's connectivity, whether it's seminars, whether it's networking, all play a role in that. So those are the three pillars. So now it's an opportunity to hear from you folks. And what I'm going to do is start with Wade or anybody, and I'm going to hopefully figure out this technology. Let's see if I can make it work. All right. Wow. Pretty good for a left-hander. How many left-handers in the room? All right, great. Well, we'll be over here later. So, what's on your mind? What things concern you? Issues that you think we may not be aware of? Yeah, the pothole in your street doesn't count. So, yes, ma'am.
I'm concerned about homeless situation in San Francisco. Giving back and somehow trying to eliminate that altogether.
Not bad for a left-hander, huh?
You do it right.
I'm not trying to be a comedian. It's obvious, right? Okay. Anybody else? Yes. Go ahead, Greg.
I'm new to this city, and Portland, where I came from, it was very simple. You had the river and you had Burnside dividing the quadrants of the city. Navigating around the city, seeing street signs, pointing in the right direction, even streets that all have street signs, noticing that would be maybe more helpful. And I think that maybe not just new people coming to the earth, but just thinking about directing organization and navigability of the city.
Okay. Do you use public transportation at all?
Not a whole lot. Yeah, I have a company vehicle, and I'm doing a lot of posting it these days, and that's working pretty well.
Yes.
Dealing with the difference between the tech boom and what it's doing for the local economy and the character of the city, which is changing so rapidly. And obviously, being from a university, I'm interested in trying to harness our university as being part of the solution.
Yeah. Do you think people understand what the tech boom has done? Really?
I think there's a lot of misinformation about it. Personally, that's my own opinion. But it's caused more conflict than I think the conflict level is perhaps maybe disproportionate to the knowledge of what's really happening. Are people being forced out because of resumes? Yes. I'm not saying that they're not. I'm just saying that there's a lot of anger and frustration around it, and I'd like to see a civic dialogue.
Okay. Because I find it kind of intriguing from a person that 18 months ago was not a resident of San Francisco and now actually have a perspective that's quite different relative to tech. Let me ask you folks, of the 70,000 jobs created over the last 3.5, 4 years, how many of that was tech? Anybody know?
Probably low. It was 75%.
75% tech?
I'm guessing.
Okay.
You know.
What's another guess?
60.
Hydra, you can't answer that question. You have to. 60%?
It depends on the type of
40.
tech, I'd say. If you look at education, CSF or separate biotech would be another area. Just internet tech, I would say probably about 50%.
Okay, the answer is 25%.
Really?
Right. See, last September, we took a risk and invited Dr. Enrico Moretti from Cal Berkeley to come and speak on our forecast event. And it was an opportunity for us to have him talk about his book, The Geography of Jobs, which talks about how you build a sector, how you build a community and employ people. See, the interesting thing, San Francisco right now is bordering on catastrophic full employment. Meaning that the biggest issue that businesses tell us 100% is talent.
It's qualified.
Right? I mean, whether I'm talking to Morgan here from Navisite or from his prior employer, Cisco Systems, talent is the #1 issue, right? So Enrico did some interesting studies, and he's over there in Berkeley, and he's published his book on geography of jobs and many articles. And he says if you want to solve the problem of unemployment, hire more tech workers, because they create 5 additional jobs. And of those 5, 3 of them are in the unskilled labor. So taxi drivers, restaurant workers, laborers basically are created when a tech job is created. But the reverse doesn't happen. I mean, if you have an additional taxi driver, he doesn't create a tech job, or she, right? So I thought about that a bit, and we looked at the numbers because we could tell exactly what sectors they came from. And almost exactly of that 70,000, 25% were created in the tech world. Now, admittedly, what's happened here in San Francisco, and I'm not trying to steal the agenda, I'm just talking about why the misunderstanding here is misdirected, is because we haven't kept up with the demand of housing. The housing project will go before a review committee, the city, which takes forever to get through, right? And the project that was intended to be X units now is X minus, because the neighbors complain, or it's too high, or whatever the issue is. And we'll never catch up with the supply requirement if the number keeps dwindling. And so I just give you that as a general example, but that's what makes this a little bit difficult to communicate, because what's happening is people are moving into the neighborhoods, changing the, they call it gentrification. Cleaning it up is another way of looking at it. But the values are still rising far beyond what people can afford. And so it's got to be taxable, because that's what the boon is. But I'd rather be in that situation than being in Texas, where they've got to buy the jobs. They got to give the incentives to get people to go there, rather than creating the jobs. And I meet with people every day, whether it's with Caroline or Teresa or Josh in the office. We were having fun. We're starting to work on our awards event coming up, the Emmys. And I was looking back. Years ago, we had these Emerging Growth Company awards, which we still give, and Technology Through Innovation Award that Comcast does for us. And one of these small companies back about 10 years ago got an award. Let's see, the name is Salesforce. It was, at that time, an emerging growth company that not very many people knew about, right? And look what happened. And that's happening every single day in San Francisco. Last year, we recognized a company in Splunk. Splunk now is a publicly traded company. It's created in San Francisco. So the innovation's happening here. The problem is it's so attractive, everybody wants to live here. And that's what's making it difficult. So I only bring that up as the biggest challenge is communication. Yes, over here, Reed, and then
Cool. Yeah, I would like to see how we can mentor other cities. So I think that there's a reason that companies like Twitter, Foursquare, LinkedIn are up here. It's obviously a very progressive city, and young people like similar to my age are drooling to get to places like San Francisco, Austin, New York, LA. And I think a lot of other cities are sort of scratching their heads and wondering why they're not attracting the types of industries that San Francisco attracts. So I think that to elevate the rest of the country, we could have something to share with other cities. So I think that would be beneficial.
it's all the rising tide, right?
Yeah, I mean, Twitter, like these companies that I mentioned, they're very quickly changing not just how we do business, but changing sort of how society works. And like, there's a story to tell.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. In more rural parts of California, it's been shown that where innovative growth companies are happening outside of the big cities are around universities. So university innovation, faculty, students create that same surge, but it's not critical mass that we see here, right? Thousands of things happening. I think that's an interesting concept. I had another hand, Eric, and then back over here.
I think this touches on the last two with some of the tech boom across the whole region, San Francisco itself, and the mentoring of other cities. Is how is San Francisco going to help elevate the entire Bay Area region? I live in Oakland. I do a lot of my business in San Francisco. It's not just about the 7x7 of San Francisco. Really, the region thrives. Or feels San Francisco might be the highest point of that traditionally, but how do we as a Chamber of Commerce reach out to the different parts of our region and make sure that we all thrive together?
So you're talking about a regional approach, right?
Yeah.
Which is actually the theme of this year's forecast. And we'll talk about it a little bit later. I don't want to dominate, but regional approach. Because think about it this way. Not every business can be in San Francisco. In fact, the biggest issues facing business right now is affordability. talking about business affordability, not human affordability, right? So when the minimum wage goes in, what businesses are going to be adversely impacted? Because some are, no question about it. I mean, most companies, frankly, don't pay minimum wage, they pay above it. But there are 60,000 workers in San Francisco at the minimum wage level. So what impact is that going to have, and what role could Oakland play in being a solution for Alameda or Fremont or Vallejo? You know, there's a burgeoning housing market building up in Vallejo of artists who jump on a boat and come to San Francisco to work. What kind of relationship? So I'm just backing you up on it.
No, I agree, because it's not a zero-sum game or a competition. I mean, I've found that I actually really love where I live in Oakland now, but I like coming in here and being part of the business community. And sometimes I feel like I have to justify that, like, oh, I'm not a San Francisco resident anymore. But I'm a Bay Area resident, and I do know that what's good for San Francisco, if done right, can be good for Oakland or for Daly City or
Sure. In the back, please, and then I think we have another hand. Yes.
So thank you for having us all here and taking the time to listen. My question is a very practical one for small businesses. I'd love to hear an update on the Business Alliance and how the Chamber is helping the Business Alliance groups close business.
I'm gonna, you know what? Any good CEO knows when he has a subject matter expert in the room.
Teresa.
Would you please help us with that question? Thank you for asking.
So, for those of you that don't know, Business Alliance is a leads exchange networking group with the Chamber. So we have one person per industry. We used to have, back in 2008, or that's when it all kind of started closing down, but we used to have 4 Business Alliance groups and 1 international group, but then the economy turned and it went down to 1 group. A lot of business owners really had to cut back on their marketing dollars and really run on a tight margin so that they could keep their doors open. But now that the economy is improving, last year we started up a 2nd group. Both are at their capacity. We might be starting a 3rd group. No news on an international business alliance yet, but what the Chamber is doing to help those companies be able to get business with each other. We're taking a different approach on how to organize the meeting, the different ways to have speakers, how to create more interactions with members from both groups and really just drive business to each of the people that are in there. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yes.
Well, the other thing that I think is an add-on to that is just this year, through input from a lot of people, is what to do with the young professionals, the up-and-comers. And so with the help of Morgan's company, Navasite, who branded it as Chamber Association with Navasite, has created SF Up, which is the SF Up-and-comers. So what is the age group, Teresa, under 40?
Under 40, but we won't check IDs.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And when they asked me what I was doing there, I said I was chaperoning. But it's a tremendous opportunity for up-and-coming business people to meet others in that same age group, because we need to be thinking young, and that's what we're doing that with our own board. We actually when we identify, okay, the size of business, the gender, we want to get racial balance, we want to get all represented, because that's what we're all about. We're looking at, okay, who can we identify from the younger population? And by the way, if anybody has any interest in that, it's on the website. Teresa and I can help you get engaged, but Morgan and his crew helped us get that thing kicked off, and it's become wildly successful, and we're very appreciative of it.
You've done a fantastic job with that. You really have.
Good. Well, that's because I have good people, right? Ma'am, did you have a question? Okay.
No.
Maybe I saw Bill's hand go up.
I do, well, since you called me, I do have a question.
Yeah.
One thing that is broad spectrum across the community is the drought situation. And I know there's a lot of programs going on and so on, but I just was wondering if there was anything, I know this is business related and so on, but sometimes we have to really look at the situations that are affecting all our communities. And the drought situation right now, you know, the compliance is very low. And I'm just wondering if there's anything that the chamber has done or can do with regards to bringing awareness to both communities as well as organizations and companies to promote that.
Well, that's a good question. Obviously, we're aware of it, and we're also aware that we're not doing that well. We have reached out to SFPUC and others to see what we can do to help create a communication source between us and business.
Okay.
Thank you for the suggestion, and I will follow up and make sure that we're doing something about it. But you're right, we haven't begun to do the things we need to do. I mean, you all remember getting in the shower, lathering up, turning the shower off, you know, and then turning the water back on and it's cold again. Yeah, I remember those. But it's something that's serious. So I mentioned that. We had one more question, then I'll come back to you, okay? Yes, sir.
Good. So our challenge as a local San Francisco business, I call it sort of the buy local or the shop local scenario, where we're a payroll service. We've been in San Francisco about 25 years now, and the way that decision makers are making their buy decisions have definitely changed. It almost seems as if the decision maker at a lot of our prospective clients are less interested in buying local and more interested in what's online, what's cheaper, what seems more efficient. So, you know, the typical scenario is you need payroll, you go online. Doesn't matter whether the company's out of Florida or out of Texas or out of San Francisco, as long as it's cheaper, sexier, quicker, it looks good. And the need to meet face to face with a local service provider has, and I understand that, has fallen away. So we've adapted to that, but it's a struggle to adapt to competing with a provider in a much lower cost region.
Yeah, good point. And there are several buy local organizations that we work closely with. Because communicating the impact of that, I think, is essential. And you know, I think maybe what we will do for a session in the near future is maybe have some of the buy local folks actually come and make a presentation on some of the initiatives they're working on. Because I think it's true. It's not only you know, retail, but it's services, it's advertising agencies, it's that whole spectrum. And they have some fascinating studies on the impact of that.
Well, this kind of plays into that, because what I was thinking about how you're doing the meeting here at BPM, and we get to meet somebody from there, and like, you know, people go online to go the least common denominator, but when you meet people and you meet them face to face and you form relationships with them, you want to do business with them. So I was saying, you know, from a business approach and business alliance, you know, have these meetings in different places where we can meet the, you know, the tech boom. Because what I feel like sometimes I'm kind of out of that demo, let's call it. But I love to meet them, and they're exciting, and they've got ideas. You know, like Reed back there, they have ideas. They're doing all this new stuff. You know, and from you know, to have meetings in these different facilities where we can, you know, just for Salesforce, it comes top of mind, LinkedIn and Zynga, and these different places where we have meetings in different places where they have to send reps, where they have to come meet, you know, us that still dress in suits and ties and dresses and not, you know, jeans and pulled out shirts, but we get to know each other and do business locally, because they have a concern too for the local, you know, these other things which are social issues. You know, everybody that does business here and works here has a need, you know, to correct the social issues, and I think we can do that. But by you helping us meet each other and become friends with each other, it would be very beneficial.
Great. Well, thank you for saying that, because, you know, a Chamber of Commerce is not just about one location in one part of town, right? It's about all these neighborhoods that are connected to each other. The first year I spent on Tuesdays, I would go to a different neighborhood and meet with neighborhood associations and talk to merchants and get their feedback on what was important to their community. And all of them have such a different approach to doing business, but one thing they all have in common is an extreme affinity for where they live, where they do their business. And thank you for mentioning that, because it reminds us that we need to do that sort of thing. In fact, 6 times a year we go to a different supervisorial district and we go with the supervisor. Like last week, we were with Supervisor Jane Kim at WeWork on Taylor, and got to see that operation as an incubator system for creating these small companies. But talk to Supervisor Kim directly. Talk to her about the issue of housing, that she's trying to create this synergy about affordable housing, and that as opposed to market rate or family-based housing. So thank you for mentioning that. Yes,
Regarding buy local, I think that part of that is a messaging issue, that you can't just tell people to buy local because I want the best prices. I'm sure you do. But I think buying locally, we're missing one of the great assets of that, which is service. And if you have a complaint, you don't have to call New Delhi to get it resolved. It's right there in your neighborhood. So I think that's really a messaging issue that needs to get out.
And the benefits of what it means locally, sure.
Right.
And I think that's why I would like a representative to talk about that. Thank you for that. Sure. Did you have your hand up?
I did, thank you. Alternatives for homeownership creation through, for the middle class, and specifically through condo conversions versus building, but creation and transformation
So it's a tool.
as a tool.
Yeah. Good suggestion. I think I had hydro.
So you know where I'm going to go with this.
Let me think. Education?
So investment by business in public education, and just even the conversation around that, it's connected to workforce development as well as employee satisfaction, and where families in San Francisco can send their kids in our public school system, and having a better understanding and support mechanisms around that. I think in other cities, there's large investment by business into the public schools, and we don't have that same kind of relationship. We get a lot of foundation support, but not necessarily from business.
Yeah, and I think one of the things has to be a strategy, that it needs to, this is a bigger conversation. Having been an advocate for public education for a lot of years, I can tell you that business will invest when they see a return. Sometimes they have difficulty investing before the vision of the return. And I only bring that up as more of a strategy sort of thing. But clearly, if talent is the #1 issue facing all the business in San Francisco, no matter what size, the only way to get there is through education. So I think people are getting it, and it's good to see you here. It's good to see Chris here from the University of San Francisco, the Chancellor and the President from City College, because you all see the wisdom of the role that business can play in working with education to deliver relationships. This relationship issue is the point that I think we all want to spread a Rolodex. Teresa, a Rolodex is a device.
It's contacts on the clouds.
I'll bring one in.
Dust it off first.
That's dust it off first. I don't know. Chancellor, you go next.
Well, one of the things that sort of piggybacks on what Heidi was saying is that we've got a diminishing group of people in the educational world, because the baby boomers who have been educating the masses are slowly and actually quickly leaving us and going into retirement. Two things we need. We need partners who, one, can help keep us fresh in terms of where is the next emerging ideas, growing, and how do we perform in our classrooms to provide you with the kind of workforce that you need? What are the skill sets that you want, not only want, but what are the skill sets that you need? And I can't compete with the tech guys in terms of payroll, so one of the things that I do look for are partnerships where I can get people who I can't afford to come into my classrooms and help educate the workforce that you need tomorrow. Those are just a few ideas that I think we need to build on. We need to come up with some strategies on how we make that happen. I mean, SF State pays a little bit better than I do, but they've got the same problem when it comes to, you know, biotech and emerging technologies, where we can't afford to pay someone at our salary rates to get the best talent. And you don't want mediocre talent in the classroom. You want the best talent in the classroom. If you're going to, it's like anything else. You take the best quality products and you put them into a process and you get an outstanding product that you now can sell, market, and be number one in the world in. And the educational market is just like that. So we've got to come to grips with the idea that education is like another business, another service business. And if you don't support us, then you're only going to get mediocre at best outputs.
Yeah, I think, and I'll get to the hands that are coming up. You said something I think that is resonating with me, because it's, you know, when I came aboard here 18 months ago, I had also this other function. I was chair of the board of trustees of the California State University system, 23 campuses, 460,000 students, you know, massivity of mankind, right? And I was asked the question, first of all, how are you going to do both? And I figured that out by having my term expire. But what resonated with me, and the first time I met the chancellor, I talked about the role that we could play, a very valuable role, a role that's not being played now, and that's convene. Convene the interest of higher ed, convene the interest of business, convene the interest of education, for the purpose of understanding the skill sets necessary for you to do your work. Here's the problem, is by the time we educate the masses for the jobs that are out there, new innovations have created desire for different skill sets, right? So is it critical thinking that's the critical part, or is it something else? And I believe working with our members, whether it's Morgan's former employer, Cisco, or his current one, Navisite, or whether it's IBM or Google, all of them have civic people on their payroll that are willing to help us. So I think it's a matter of convening, and that's what I think needs to happen, and it needs to happen fairly quickly, and that's the role I think we can play. We went down, my foundation chair and I went down to LA because they have one of the best compacts of in the chamber world. Compact meaning between the city and the educational institutions and business coming together for three main goals. All kids graduate from high school, all kids start preparation for college, and all kids that want to go to college have an opportunity. And that's the message that I'm trying to send, and that's the message that I think, frankly, in this region is lacking between the institutions themselves, working with each other, and business. I think Hydra, we solve that problem if we can get business to sit at the table and say, I'm signing on the compact to make sure that kids graduate, have an opportunity to go to college, or be trained to go to college, and get there. Did you want to say something before?
Sort of piggybacking on that idea, one of the things that I brought with me was an idea that we actually were successful with in another major urban setting. And that is, every single high school kid that came out of that high school, our high school system, had the opportunity to go to college, no matter what their economic strata was. So we guaranteed at least 2 more years of high school, after high school, 2 years of college education and training, so that we could produce the workforce for that environment. And we need to do that here. And it's not that expensive.
Right.
It's just a matter of us getting together and saying, okay, what is the need and how do we do it? There shouldn't be a high school student who's sitting on the sidelines because they don't think that they can go to college.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's very powerful about what you said about the convener role that the chamber can play and to connect everybody. And I'm very compelled by your views as well, Chancellor, regarding making these opportunities and ensuring that that investment is there. And likewise, I would say that it is incumbent upon education to demonstrate the value to business of where their investment is going, how their engagement is going to pay off down the road. I just have to share with you all that I spent 3 days at Purdue University last week at the Network of Academic Corporate Relations Officers. I had the huge privilege of talking with people who have been in this game for 10, 20, 30 years that are coming up with all kinds of unbelievable innovations about partnerships between universities and businesses, and education and businesses. I learned a ton. So, no, not every university is, at Berkeley or Stanford or an R1, but it doesn't matter. We have different things to offer. We all have different pieces of the puzzle. So I'm very excited at the opportunity to try to help solve some of those issues and harness that energy between the San Francisco and the Bay Area business community and education institutions.
In fact, you might want to talk to our friend at Cengage over there and some of the innovations that they're working on. Yes?
I think a lot of this leads up to sustainability and social responsibility. Doing the right thing economically also makes sense, I believe, for the community as well, and really driving that message through to the community and businesses here in San Francisco.
Yeah, thank you for that point, because look at issues like drought, homelessness, navigate the city.
Buy local.
Buy local, have a sense all of social responsibility, sustainability, right? So it's almost like, how do we get the message out on how to do that? That's very good. I've lost track of hands, so I'm going to go over here. I'm sorry.
As a small business, one of the big issues that's been on the table for a couple of years now is a healthy San Francisco. Before Obamacare, it worked very well because we were able for our temporary employees to have an HRA for them, where they could just submit, they would get a credit card, they could submit their receipts, get reimbursed and everything else. But now under Obamacare, that's changed dramatically. And we're paying a portion of that money into the city now. And that's just going to the general fund. So has the chamber looked to see how this is actually working now as compared to the way it was normally set up?
Yeah, I've got
Because it now costs an employee time and money to go get reimbursed, to go to the doctor. They have to take time off from work, not only to go to the doctor, but to get reimbursed from the city.
Yeah, I'm going to get your card and have you talk to my policy team. Yeah, our argument is you shouldn't do both. When ACA came in, American Affordable Care Act.
Yeah. Oops, sorry.
We should have declared a victory, right? Yeah. Because now there's opportunity for coverage.
It
not
doesn't
to
help the
do
temporary
both.
employees.
Sure.
What happens, like I say, in-house employees, we can give them insurance policies, we pay for them.
Right.
But when you have temporaries that are constantly turning over, you can't issue policies for them.
Sure. I understand. Let me, it's such a big issue. Let me make sure my policy team connects with you. But it's something I have to tell you. We've taken the lead on the healthcare security ordinance and all of that, bringing the restaurant association together with others. Yeah, it's a big problem, and I'd love my team to follow up with you. I'll make sure you do that. Yeah, Reed.
Sure. Yeah, I just have two quick points on some of the notes we have. So for the buy local, I'd just like to compliment the chamber on the beautiful and really organized website that you all built. I think that's fantastic. I'd like to see how we can get that website and the list of chamber members into the hands of either like the general public or other business owners. Just because, you know, there's millions of websites, it's hard to get anybody to concentrate on something for 5 seconds. So there's that. And then earlier I praised those tech companies a little bit, but speaking on the homelessness, like I'm wondering like why like Twitter and LinkedIn they're not sitting here with us today talking. Like I'd like to see if the chamber can maybe give them a kick in the butt a little bit to start participating in the local economy and local politics a little bit more.
Okay. Let me just, not to defend them, but let me just tell you that they're engaged. We have a tech advisory group, plus a lot of them are engaged in SF Hub, so they're kind of finding their way. Okay. The benefit of where we are now is we have many, many more engaged now than we did 18 months, 2 years ago. Sure. They get it, that they need to be at the table. They get it, that they need to have, that's why they've got their civic engagement divisions really looking closely at this sort of thing. Very concerned about how it's being perceived. But you know, the good news is that let's see, Cisco paid $1 billion for Rocky, so they're now in San Francisco. Google just spent $65 million on a building on the Embarcadero. That's 2,800 there before they came. So there's huge investment happening up here, because this is where the talent is, and I think you'll see even deeper engagement. I think what they want to do more authentic civic engagement rather than window dressing, and that's what they've had dialogue with us about. It's a very wholesome discussion. Okay, one more, because we're getting to the end, and Brian says that almost all the beer's gone. So.
This is an add-on, so I don't think it counts as a separate question in case someone else has one. And to his point, does this chamber also connect with SF City?
Yeah, oh yeah, very much so. Alex Turk will be at our board meeting tomorrow. We have really good discussions on the role we can play with them, and you know, we're about all business. We don't decide what, you know, business wants to participate with us. They're in. It's not a matter of, well, you're a tech company, or you know, you're part of an ethnic group. We're about all business. The one thing we are doing with the ethnic groups is offering to support them, because most of them are underfunded, don't have the staff support, so we're trying to find a way to help all of them thrive. Is the idea of raising the tide, right? So what happens with this? We take it very seriously. A number of these issues, of course, this one will take, you know, as far as handling that, I can tell you that we've gone to other cities to see what they've done. One thing that we don't have that a lot of the communities have that are solving the homelessness problem, winter. We don't have winter. What I mean by that is you don't see it in a lot of those communities because it's so damn cold, right? We have a beautiful town. We're a little bit too forgiving of behavior issues. To me, it's not so much the homeless as it is some of the behavior problems. But we're chipping away at it. The city invests over $300 million in that issue. We got to come up with a better way, and that's one of the things we're working on. But I can tell you, I got a lot of good feedback. I think we're heading down the right track. Please keep participating with us. Give us feedback on things that you're working on that we can help with. It's great to see the electronic media here represented, as well as the video camera. I don't know what you can use that for, but my mom might see it on YouTube, I'm sure. And then the education sectors. Thank you for coming and being part of the meaningful discussion. And you know, it's through groups like this and through ideas like this that solutions come to pass. And I appreciate, Brian, you and your partners in sponsoring tonight's event. We'll tell you when the next one is on the website. We're going to move it around town. I'm kind of pushing for AT&T Park sometime in the afternoon on Wednesday. So anyway, thanks for coming, and really appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Bob.
Line your pockets with all these.